Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, your host, and this is the CPS secret how to fight them and how to get them back. This is a live broadcast that is broadcast through Facebook on YouTube. I'm broadcasting from Southern California, and I am doing this broadcast uh, with a lot of misgivings about CPS. CPS has been the worst agency I've ever dealt with in my life. I had a horrible, horrible case. I've been fighting CPS for 14 years. Uh, I have had my children stolen from me, and I had the breakup of a fully functional family. And it's really bad how allegations that are hearsay are thrown at the social workers who are supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse, and also to do family reconsideration, meaning that family reunification is what I meant to say. Family reunification, unify the family, and that is a very important thing. Instead, they have done nothing more than break it down and pull it apart. Now, there's several ways to interact with this show. One is that you can text a comment at the comment section below on the YouTube that you're watching, and it would transmit to me. I like you to put your name. First name's okay. Uh, where you're from, the city and state is okay. And then also what the allegations are and what children are involved. And then you can ask your question that you'd like to be answered about CPS. Um, Not too many good stories to hear about CPS. It's always been a negative time with them. And it seems no matter who I talk to, if it's in Nova Scotia, Canada, or down in Florida, Miami, Florida, or San Antonio, Texas was last night, and so forth. No matter where I talk to in the country, they have one thing in common. They have a habit of being not transparent. They dupe you into doing things, and they lie. And these workers are not even certified or even have a license to do what they're doing. It's the only agency I know that has really important things. Now, what I mean by that is that if you're going to have open heart surgery, and this is what CPS is, you need to have a professional in your court. And this show is produced by Vincent W. Davis and Associates. And the show, this attorney, Mr. Davis, is a very good professional attorney in family services. He can fight CPS. He has fought CPS and won. He can bring back your children, and he's really good at doing that. Now, he's offering right now a free consultation of 30 minutes up to an hour where he'll talk to you at no charge on the strategies of fighting CPS and getting your children back. And after your session, if you like him, I'd retain him. He is well worth every penny he asked for. Now, he's a trial attorney. He has done lawsuits against CPS. So he's a good person to have. It's the most valuable tool you'll need in your bag of tools. Is that you need to have somebody that can fight and also put you at ease. So please take up his offer to talk to him. You have nothing to lose. To arrange a time with Mr. Davis, you want to go 888-888-6582. And then you want to tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's very important. You tell him that Bob Pace sent you. Also, I want to hear back if you got your time with him. I'd like you to come back and comment me and do so. Now, at the bottom of the stream, there's a ticket stream that gives his website. His website is the calendar of where his appointments are. So if you want to schedule a time, look at his calendar and then pick that time and date. When you call in, tell him that Bob Pace sent you, and you call in to 888-888-6582 and ask to schedule a time with Mr. Davis. And believe me, you can't go wrong. I waited for almost a year and a half of my case before I hired him because I thought I could do it all on my own without an attorney. And that's a mistake. That is a very valuable mistake. On the onset, the first thing you want to do is not talk to social workers. You're not required to, and it will hurt you in the end. Furthermore, you do not want a social worker set foot on your property. You don't want to let them in the house, and that includes policemen. They have to have a warrant, a court-signed document by a judge that states that they want to search your home. Specifically named in the court warrant is a person's name and what they're looking for. The courts will not allow them to dupe or disguise. Social services, the case workers there of the branch of CPS, Child Protection Services, will dupe the local police into enforcing. Their image alone will intimidate you, and that's why they use them. The police are not allowed in your home unless they, again, have a warrant. They have to have that document. And a lot of times they'll say, well, we have the document, we have filed. They said, do you have it? I can see it. And it might be the weekend. And so until you see the court document, you don't let them in there. You should get a hold of an attorney, though. When it reaches that point where they want to come into your home or interview you further, you need to get an attorney. And again, Mr. Davis is available to talk to. All you have to do is call 888-888-6582. Now, I'm on the show 7 days a week, twice a day. One at 10 in the morning and one at 7 at night, Pacific Standard Time. They're approximately 1 hour long. And we have people from time to time that'll text in a message. And again, I ask you to put in your city, state, or your country and city. And then, because we do have international people with CPS problems. And I'd like you also to put your name and the city and, of course, the state or the country. And then put down your allegations and what children involves. And then write in a question you want to. Allegations are terrible things. And you'll find that out, that they do that right away. So. But I usually have a speaker on that wants to talk about their case. And that's another way of interacting with the show. Right now, if you want to be live on the show and talk about your case, I'll afford you the opportunity. This is 626 698 0990. That is my direct line to my office phone, 626 698 0990. And when you call it, you'll get me directly, and then I can put you live via the speaker on the phone, and you can talk all you want. They're hour-long shows, and if you're not ready to talk and you still want to talk, maybe on a later date, then call that office number, 888-888-6582. Mention that Bob Pace sent you, and schedule a date and a time of one of my shows. They're 7 days a week, twice a day, 10 in the morning and 7 o'clock at night. And so I strongly urge you to share your story, because you can help other people like I am. You can explain to people what you're going through and what you're feeling. It's a very emotional process. I feel for every one of you out there. I see it all the time, where families are ripped apart, where social workers will come in at the time of delivery of a birth and take the child from the mother who just gave birth. They are horrendously, they're not transparent. They lie. They don't need a license to do what they're doing. And they also think they're psychotherapists. They think they can diagnostic you as mental health problems. They think that they can diagnose that the children has mental health problems. They even recommend medication. They're not licensed to do that. They're not doing that. So if you're involved with CPS, Child Protective Services, don't talk to them. Yes, no is all you really have to say. And you can say, no, you can talk to my attorney, and then give the number of your attorney. Or you can say, I've been advised by my attorney, he'll get back to you. And that's one way you could use as a ruse to get more time, because what's going to happen is that they will take what you say or see what's your home and distort it. They'll blow it up 20 times bigger than it is. Another area that seems to be common among people is the use of drugs. Now, marijuana is a drug, and it is legal in medical places at certain parts of the country. But let me tell you this, just like alcohol and cigarettes, marijuana is not supposed to be around where there's children present, and I mean under the age of 18. And so if you're going to be doing that, you have to do it away from your children, and you don't want to have anything relating to that laying around, because social workers will use that. It's against the law. They have drug paraphernalia or anything else that's related to that by children under the age of 18. They'll immediately take your kids away, and then they will make your life a living nightmare. Now, they are responsible by law to, within 24 hours, to answer all the allegations. The only problem is CPS thinks that all allegations are true and you're guilty until you're proven innocent, which is totally different from any other criminal matter or any other court matter. You are innocent till you're proven guilty. Not in family dependency court, not by CPS standards. You're guilty. So if they say that you abuse your children and neglect your children, they're going to believe it for the time being until you can prove them that you're not. And that means they will, on extreme circumstances, take your child. Now, when they sometimes say extreme, they'll exaggerate. My case was horrible. I don't even know. I keep talking about it, but I had allegations against me started on soon after I lost my job. And why were they coming into me after my job? Because my wife's family side, were calling in and trying to alienate the children um, from us parents. And they're saying stuff that wasn't true. Now, I use the word alienation. Alienate is a no-no. It's against the law. You're not supposed to alienate anybody. Uh, Parents use it in custody battles. They try to alienate one child from the other child, and that is totally wrong. You should not alienate the child. And CPS uses this. They use it by not telling the kids what the parents are doing, saying negative things to the kids. Here they worry about the parents coaching the kids. CPS does coach the kids. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll use deception, they're not transparent, and it's greed that's gotten CPS recently. And this is happening all over the country. It's happening from Maine. I had somebody from Alaska the other day, someone from Austin, Texas. Everywhere I get a call, and they are telling horror stories where they almost get through with their case, and then CPS changes its mind. Now, I'm using the word CPS only because in California, that's what the Child Protection Services is called, a branch of social services. They're responsible for kids. In other states, it may be called DCF or DSS. It's all depends on the way they look at it, but it's all meant the same thing. It's a government agency that's responsible for protecting our children, but they've gone overboard. There have been so many horror stories and so many bad cases. I agree. We need a agency like this to protect our children, but we also need an agency that's fair and doesn't treat everybody the same, and does family, um, family counseling, bring the family together. They don't do that. They forget about the most important thing. We all may have hiccups. We may all have problems. And my allegations that came in against me we're going on about 5 years since after I lost my job. And I would meet with them, and at that time I was showing my home and stuff, and I stopped doing that only because my life was getting worse because my parents were dying, and I had their belongings to deal with. And you know, it's like a perfect storm brewing with me. In the late 2000s, uh, the economy, the banks tanked. My retirement was cut in half, and I had a predator loan I didn't know, and then I lost my job, and through no fault of my own, the government of California uh, was running out of money, and so he was trying to do some deceptive measures. And I had government contract work, and he wrote me IOUs for the work instead of giving me the funds that are public funds. Anyway, with my parents dying, it was getting worse. That perfect storm was getting worse, and so I was constantly fighting it for about 5 years. But then when my parents, uh, you know, were on their deathbed, and I had taken the belongings out of the home because they'd asked me to, so I love my mom and dad. Little did I know that my parents' belongings would get me into trouble. And it's because of putting them in my home. I had no money to do storage. I had no help from anybody to help me with my parents' belongings. Even my family members weren't too cooperative. They were far away. I had no close relatives living nearby. So like a good son, I took all the belongings, put it in the house. The problem is the way the belongings were, they were stacked, box highs, a couple of box highs, some furniture on furniture and so forth. So it looked cluttered. It was not hard to walk around, but it was certainly your space was used up. I had a huge home. I had my belongings, but social service workers were so bad, they implied that the boxes could fly upstairs and attack her children in their bedroom, or the furniture could walk up the stairs and attack her children. And so they charged me with neglect because I wasn't safety for the children, that the furniture or the boxes could possibly harm them. It's a joke. They make a joke out of it. I needed help with a job or funds to put my parents' stuff in storage or food. I needed food for food stamps or Medicare and stuff like that. And the other part of social service posts provide that. They are terrible at doing that. You have long days. You sit there in line to try to get there. Social services in undated. It's been maxed out. Why? Because we have open borders. And I'm not trying to be politics about it, but the open borders have caused a ripple effect into social services. Why? Because when you come into the country, you no longer have to learn English as a language. You don't have to go through a form of processing. You don't have to uh, learn U.S. government, the legislative, the judiciary, the executive branch. And shoot, the judiciary branch has had a couple of cases this week. And so you're supposed to learn that. You're supposed to learn U.S. history. Everybody that's in school, whether it's private or public, must take U.S. government and U.S. history. And when you start in school, English is the common language spoke. They have ESL for people that don't speak it, and they help you get up there. But it's very frustrating if they don't speak the language and they get caught by the police doing something wrong or social service. Anyway, social services, has millions and millions, not just a few people, millions. The borders, it was terrible. They opened the borders that the former president had closed the borders and had a processing system and built walls. And the new president took down the walls and opened the borders. So we gotta let everybody in. Then what do? They try to pass a motion, try to correct his actions, and they still blame it. So anyway, politics is a mess, and it's affected social services, it affected us. And I we have Queen who's been on here before. Um, her name is Queen. I don't know what state you're from, Queen. I can't remember, but she agrees with me there. It'd be nice, Queen, if you tell me what state you are from. Um, Um, the social services are supposed to be helping you. You are a family. You have loved ones that you love, and what is happening is those loved ones are being destroyed by they're being adopted. Why all this adoption? I mean, why all this push? Why are the social workers more concerned about their makeup or Gucci purses or anything else? They get money. It's $1 billion business. Every time a child is in custody with CPS, they get federal dollars and state dollars. And I'm not talking $1 or $2. I'm talking thousands of dollars every month. And they'll continue until the case is closed. And they also hope that the child is adopted through foster care, and then it continues to their 18, and then they try to raise their family. That's a sad thing about foster care. I've heard several cases here where someone at age 3 was taken into foster care, stayed there till they're 18, then tried to adapt in life. They weren't ready. Foster care didn't prepare them, social service didn't, and they didn't care about them. In fact, they got married, had children, and then CPS got after them. And it's really sad. Not all foster care people are bad. Not all foster care. It's a good thing to have because there's a lot of kids that don't have mothers and fathers. Or if both parents are incarcerated in prison, they need a father and mother. But, people that have functional parents, all they have to do is take some parenting classes, go through some type of program to get them to correct maybe their bad behavior or something like that. Stories of children being slammed against the wall do happen, and parents get upset with the crying and they take other measures. That's wrong. Or parents taking children and put them in the stove to show how hot it is and burn their fingers. Some of that stuff is wrong, and I agree with it. Abuse and neglect. There is horror stories out there, and I'm never saying there isn't. But what's happened is that lately the social services, the CPS workers have found a niche for the money, and they now treat everybody that is extreme. For instance, they have people that never was on drugs and they want to drug test them for a year. Why waste all the money on drug testing to have someone come back negative, negative, negative week after week after week? That's 52 weeks, 52 drug tests at probably $1,500 a pop. That's a lot of money to waste. And it's funny. We're $1 trillion in debt in our government, and why? Because we do stupid things and we finance, you know, an overkill, and there's nobody watchdogs. There's no one that watches the money. My son was in foster care, and the foster parents bought over 100 pairs of socks because they had to use the money up. I cannot believe, what's he going to do with 100 pairs of socks? Why not 100 pairs of underwear? But socks, it was crazy. It is so crazy. There are people that run false business to use tax credits, and the government pays them checks of 500,000, a million. There's so much wasted spending there, and so it's really hard. We have somebody here called. Uh, okay, that's right. I know you can't join it because you have a storm right now. That's okay, Madrid Vega. It's nice that you commented in. Anyway, there's someone there's texting messages. I love to have you guys ask me a question or make a comment about something. Um, but we need to correct a lot of things. We need to correct how CPS works. Um, you know, it's several components. It's to protect our children, but it's also get our families back together. There's no, I mean, 99% of the parents on here care about their children. Some are living in tents in Alaska to be with their children. Some go through hoops after hoops after hoops and disappointments after disappointments, year after year. Some have lost their children and still concerned of getting them back. It is really a very sad state of affairs that the families are going through. Um, my case was no different. It was sad. I mean, not only was I dealing with not having a job through no fault of my own, but I was dealing with, a predatory loan. I was dealing with, trying to pay my mortgage, and I was dealing with my parents' belongings and my parents dying, and then I had to deal with CPS. That taxes you. We had three children that were well taken care of. One was in a private high school, one was in a middle public school, a good one, and another one was in elementary school, another good one. It was a state of art elementary school. It had glass walls so that people in the hallway could walk by and see how the teacher's performing with their students. They could also see their student in class. So it was an open kind of concept there where there's accountability. And that was the elementary school. Our kids were doing A's and B's, mostly A's, and they wanted to pursue things like engineering. My oldest son wanted to pursue robotic engineering, so he's in a STEM program. My youngest son wanted to be an astronaut, and my daughter wanted to be a volleyball player. And so, our three children, we have two groups of children. We have three older ones and three younger ones. And what happened is that they used deception to finally get into my house lately when I had my parents' belongings. And that deception was so bad. It was really, really, really bad. They even tried to go to our school where kids are. They're allowed by law to interview your kids, but you parents have to be at the school when they do that. You're not allowed to be in the room because why? Oh, you're going to coach the kids. Well, what do you think the social workers do? They coerce the kids to say something. They don't know. I mean, they take out a doll and they show them, does your daddy do this? Does your mommy do this? With that. There's so many bad practices. They're not trained. They're very little education. And my social worker was a young girl starting out in life, and she was only interested in the bonus program. She bragged about her new makeup every time I saw her, her eyelashes, her Gucci purse, her clothing, her jewelry, her BMW car. I'm sitting here struggling, and why do you want to hear a social worker talk about the reaps of wealth of stealing your children? Stealing my children. They steal children. They're the only legal agency that can steal children and get away with it. No accountability. And are uh, the courts any better? The dependency courts, in my case, in Southern California, were terrible. They had people lined up in the hall. You're not allowed in California, where I was at, to be in the courtroom where your case is being discussed. The only time you can be in there, and it says in law that my constitutional rights to be in that courtroom, but they didn't let me. But they said that we'll bring you in when it's time to sign something. You don't know how your attorney performs. I found out that our judge was an expert in property and collisions with vehicles, but nothing knew about family reunification or about how to take care of children. And so you're not in the courtroom. You don't know how your attorneys perform or social workers. It's a pals game in there. They go to golf together. They go to lunch together. They do a lot of things. And they're in there. And the problem is, too, is that the public defender they give you, he has 20 cases. He or she has 20 cases, and they don't have time to really fight your case. They're going to do the easiest way out. They're not going to have your best interests, and they're forgetting important things. My constitutional rights were violated. Very early on, I was supposed to be uh, allowed to contact my tribe. Now, you look at me, I don't look like an Indian, but they have the ICWA, the Indian Welfare Child Act, that was passed in 1979. And that was posed to help Indian children get get back with your families and not CPS. CPS is instructed if they find that the children alleges, the parents allege that they are uh, native Indian blood in them, American Indian blood in them, then they need to contact the tribes or tribes, make a concerted effort to see if they're registered or could be registered. And I'm at my great great grandmother was a Lakota Sioux out of the Rosebud Reservation, and I could not somehow get her Indian name. My family decided to hide the fact that she was an Indian. My great great grandfather was from Norway. He was a Viking with Norwegian blood in him from Bergen, Norway. He'd come and had four other wives and married his fifth wife, not all at the same time, but I guess they died or whatever the case would be. But somehow he met my great grandmother at the Lakota Sioux Reservation in the 1870s, 80s. That was a terrible time that was happening down there. The Indians were being so many promises made and so many treaties broken, and it was sad. It's sad. It's so sad today that things have been reduced. But anyway, if you are Indian or registered Indian or could be registered Indian, then you're entitled that CPS would turn the children over to the tribe and the tribe would take care of them and get your family back together. Well, they're going to do so. They have an interest. That reservation as Indians on is their land. It's not government land. It's land given by the government for the sole purpose of the Indians to take care of their own. They do their own government, own police, and they do their own welfare and so forth. And that's something that my constitutional rights were violated. I did not. I did not have CPS social workers take me seriously, and they lied to me. And so that's one thing early on that they did. Also, early on, they don't have meetings with your kids, meaning they should have a weekly meeting where the kids and the parents know what each party's doing. There should be some effort to bring the family together if they're apart. What is the problem, family? They don't do that. They don't allow interactions there because they want to keep them alienated. They want to keep them quiet because they're hoping that they can get them to be adopted. And they were successful. Successful. Of my three children that were taken or stolen into custody, one of them was brainwashed into thinking that foster care was the way to go. And so she divorced his parents. And that's a horrible thing when you have a daughter do that. That's a horrible, horrible thing. Divorced the mother and the father, and not only that, to her brothers and the rest of her family members. She changed her name and sealed her birth certificate. So I'm telling you out there, you got to be careful out there because, I didn't see her since she was 12, and she was taken to me from 12, and we had a great relationship. She's the one that's responsible for helping me with my parents' belongings. She helped me move and box and put the stuff in a U-Haul and then bring it down and offload it and everything. I couldn't ask for a more beautiful daughter than my daughter. And my wife is just devastated for her. She and I have been together now for 30 years, and it's so sad. And my whole life was an evil, not at a young age, by the way. I already had three children that were very successful in life. And um, here I am at 60 losing my job. And it's very hard at 60 to find another job, especially the kind of job I had with the income I was making. And then 5 years later, CPS, came in, and I told you I did not tell you how they deceived me, but I was picking up my son from school, and they turned from school, and they followed me. A detective followed me. CPS had made some story up that they had been unsuccessful to see the parents in the home and wanted to coerce uh, uh, a, a policeman to forcefully enter my home. Now, they have to have a court order. I told you that they have to have a warrant. It has to be executed by a judge and stuff. They didn't do that. And I didn't know the law. That's the problem. They take advantage of parents that don't know the laws. And the policeman, you know, um, followed me for quite some time. And then he had a black and white stop me because I'm not going to stop by an unmarked car. He knew that. So he had a black and white, turn his lights on, and you're supposed to pull over when a black and white comes behind you. So I pulled over, and the guy came up, and I very cheerfully said to him, "What can I do for you?" And his words out of his mouth was something weird. "Did you know you ran a stop sign?" I said, "Well, the only stop sign I can remember was about 10 miles back. It's near my son's school, and I do the 3-second rule where I count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 before I proceed on." And after I told him that, I should have said, "Well, can you give me a ticket and we'll go fight that in court?" Instead, he said, "There's a gentleman that would like to see you." And so here's a guy, a detective, come out in combat boots and his military outfit with his badge flopping in there. And he says, "You're coming with me to follow you to your home." I said, "What for?" He wouldn't say anything. There's another constitution. They have a right, if they're going to arrest you or stop you, to tell you what it is for. They did not do that. And I should never have followed him. I should have ignored him and never followed him. And, uh, but when I came back to the home, I thought police were honest. I thought social services was a good agency. And there was 3 social workers standing in my front yard, 5 firemen, 2 code enforcement, 2 uniformed policemen, and of course the detective. I said, "Why are all these people here? This is a private neighborhood." I was worried that maybe my house was broken into or was it burnt to the ground. And instead, there was these people that were called by social services to investigate and find out the allegations. And one of the allegations was there's no electricity in the house, no gas and stuff like that. I showed them the box. It's fully functional. I have no idea what you're talking about. Here are the utility bills for the water, the trash. I keep all my bills and showed them all that. And then they came into my yard, and unfortunately, all of my parents' belongings could be in the house, so I had them with tarps over the yard because initially I put all my parents' belongings on the front apron, but the association that I belonged to, CC has CCNRs, you're not allowed to put anything for long periods of time on top of the apron for things in there. And then code enforcement said your gate's loose. I said, "Well, yeah, a couple turns of the screw could probably tighten it up there." They were so anal. They were looking for something. They they said, "Well, your door is not functional. There's no door handle. It looks like it's been broken or something." I said, "Someone has been trying to intimidate me to move out of my home. And I've called the police about them, but they did nothing. They broke the door down so they get into the house to see what's in there because they want to try to buy my home. And when I called the police that I had someone break into my house, they did nothing. That's another constitutional right. The police did nothing. On top of that, they plastered all my cars with these stupid stickers saying that we're going to buy your home. And so my home had a mortgage and I was paying the mortgage and I was fighting to keep my home. But there's a lot of people out there that want to intimidate you and get a cheap house for a cheap deal. There's bad people out there. And this guy was the worst. He tried to intimidate me by cutting all the wires of my electrical panel and strip it. And then I had to pay someone $2,500 to go put it back together again within 24 hours, which I didn't have the money there. That's another thing, too. And the door, I didn't have money to pay $350 for a new door lock and stuff like that. So I had to manually shut it with a screwdriver. So right away, they're trying to nitpicking. The firemen were seeing, oh, is your smoke alarm installed right? They're measuring to see the distance from the wall or whatever it is. And of course, the smoke alarms were fine. They tested them, they're functioning. I showed them the fire extinguisher in the kitchen. That's not required, but I had one. And then on top of that, code enforcement was saying, was the door locked to the pool? Had a chain, had a deadbolt, had a lock, so no child could go in the backyard into the pool. Also, I had a gate outside around the pool. The pool was completely secure. No one could get in to the pool. So that part, they were looking for anything as a violation. And as I say, the only thing they came up with is my parents' belongings, which was so stupid when they did that. They thought it was so extreme that same day they took my children. They went to the schools and picked them up. And you know where they put them? They put them into a shelter that's next door to a prison that's right across from the dependency court that was clean and it was overcrowded and the play area was bee infested with beehives and the food was terrible. My kids were being abused in that shelter and neglected in that shelter, and social services, the CPS, did nothing to protect them. They did nothing. Nothing on that. Um, I do want to stop for a moment and tell you this very valuable tool is our lawyer, Mr. Vincent Davis, and he is a professional trial attorney that fights CPS and wins. He does get your kids back. He has sued CPS in lawsuits, and he is offering right now a 30-minute to an hour consultation to talk about the strategies of your fight against CPS and how to get your kids back. It's free. So all you have to do is call in 888-888-6582 and tell them that Bob Pace sent you and schedule a time. Now his calendar is being ticketed across the bottom of the screen, and you go to that website and you'll see what days he's available and times, and then you can schedule that. You can schedule that. So um, by the way, any of you listening right now, if you want to write in a comment, please do so. I've had 2 so far, Queen and um, Reddy have text me, and one of them is having storm problems, so they can't see it. I guess they can only write the comment in Queen. But I'm so glad to have you guys listening, because it's a very emotional time with CPS. And my story, no matter how many times I tell it, I try to tell it a little bit differently so it's not too boring there. But I am a father with a big heart, and I always want to take care of my family. My family is the most important thing to me in my life. I never abandon my family. No matter how hard it is to get food or clothing or shelter, I always provide. And I love my kids. I love my 3 older ones, and I love my 3 younger ones. And that's 6 children that I love dearly, and I want them the best. The 3 older ones are doing great. The 3 younger ones, one is adopted because she thought it'd be better. They had more money. They could give her the Disneyland passes I used to give my children. I couldn't afford. I mean, that's sad when you have a family and you tell them, "Hey, family, I lost my job. We have to do a Spartan lifestyle. It means no sodas, no chips, no cookies. All the luxuries that we used to get, like Disneyland passes or going to countries. We used to go to a lot of countries, Brazil and Portugal. We go to Hawaii. I'm a world traveler, so I've been to almost every place in the world. But all that had to be put on the back burner. The concentration was finding work and taking care of my parents that were dying. Now, the big task was dealing with an agency that is lying, cheating, and very deceptive. And all they want to do is get that money from the federal or the state and and uh, boost their own coffers. The building where the management sat for the CPS, Child Protection Center, is like a Taj Mahal. It's huge. It's got special state-of-the-art glass, state-of-the-art architect, and the head honchos in that building. And I have talking to them. I've talking to all the managers of that building, trying to get help, trying to tell them they're not giving my constitutional rights. It went in one ear, it went out the other. The more I fought CPS, the worse it got for me. The worse it got for me. They're very vindictive, very they want revenge, and they think they are unaccountable. They think no one can tell them what to do or how to do it. Their whole goal is to make money, and they dupe a lot of people in the process. With that being said, uh, early on, I was denied the ICWA process, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1979. I was denied a chance to see my daughter through monitored visitations. They said that she didn't want to see me, which is far from the truth. I know that she did. Her last words to me is, "Daddy, I love you." And that was on May 2nd of 2015. I think May 15th is when they took her from me. But it was sad. There's so many sad things that, storytelling and allegations go hand in hand. I think allegations should be written down and signed by the person making the complaint. Now, professionals are required by law, if they notice any physical abuse of a child, supposed to call in on it. So there are those individuals that have to do it, but it should be in a matter that's very professional. If you write down the allegations and sign your name to it, then you're stating something that you believe is true. When you make a phone call, you're hiding behind a phone and you can make up stories. There's no accountability. If you sign your name and the stuff on there isn't true, then you could be held accountable for your actions. That's why they don't do it. It's very secretive. They think that if the parents find out, there'd be retaliation. No, we don't need to know. I don't need to know who made the allegations. I just need to know if they're true or not. And when you disprove them by showing utility bills, you know, that should be all there should be. Instead, they want to test you for drugs. They want to think you're just like all the other parents. CPS doesn't believe in bringing families back together. They don't keep their promises. They are so bad about doing so. Um, my son, my family was harmed in a group home. They are supposed to try to keep the family together, the kids together, which was good. But in the group home, it was run like it's a boys' town home, and boys' town is for boys and girls that don't have mothers and fathers. But they were put in with 6 other children, 3 in there, that's 9. And then you had a young guy and a young mom in their early 20s, and they had one 1-year-old child, and they had another one on the way. And they're going to watch 9 children. They're going to watch and take care of 9 children. They had a chart that gave points, but my boys were so demoralized. My girl wanted some belongings from home to put in her room. They never gave it to her. They did not want. They wanted to completely alienate the kids from the parents. They wanted it so bad that the kids hated the parents, and they thought that the parents weren't doing anything, weren't trying to get their kids back, didn't know that they care or anything. Some of the kids in the group home never saw their parents while they were there. It was the saddest thing because we'd be there with our kids, and the other kids had no parents coming to see them because they were alienated. Their whole purpose was getting the kids to be adopted, and so they keep the money till they're 18. And so that that is a, a sad picture. But my youngest was scolded a lot of times because he wanted to drink more orange juice. He wasn't drinking excessive. He liked maybe a glass and a half. He thought orange juice was healthy. But these Boys Town parents maybe could do a good job with Boys Town kids, but they're not good to run a group home for the CPS in Southern California. Um, they only had a contract for 1 year because they bid it too cheap and they couldn't win it the second time around because they finally found all the mistakes they did. But anyway, um, where do you go from here? If any of you like to write a comment, there's still a couple of you in the room. I'll answer them. If you want to call in, there's still time to talk on the show. It's at 626-698-0990. You can call in and tell them your story in there. But I really like you to know that you don't give up with CPS. You keep plodding around. Don't say anything, saying yes or no. Use an attorney. And we have an attorney that's offering a free hour. Mr. Davis, call him. And the public defenders, you like the first one, get the second one, the third one, the fourth one. You are allowed, it's your constitutional right to get a defender that will defend you. If they're not defending you, I don't care if they say it's too much trouble or something like that. It's your constitutional rights. That 14th Amendment that they're talking about trying to use against the uh, president is the same constitutional 14th will protect you guys. There's things in there that protect you guys. So look at that. That's been brought to attention. But in our Constitution, there are things that protect you, such as no one allowed to enter your home unless, the warrant, the court warrant type thing. So there is protections in there. Do not talk to CPS. Don't yes or no to them, because you may think they're great or a pal, but they'll end up a month later changing their mind, and then you're back in the whole system again. You're back in the whole system again. So my case went on, and I finally got the attorney, Mr. Davis, and he was able to get my boys back um, in 2017. But from 2017 to now, 2024, I've been still fighting CPS, and I do so now as a host on a podcast, twice a day, 7 days a week. And I hope to share with things there. Like there's a form that many of you all not aware of called the 388. It's a petition form that's used in the court, dependency court, to introduce new evidence, or that you complete things or made some changes so that you can change the current plan. It also can be used to get different venues and so forth. So it's a real important form to look at. It's something that your public defender or your attorney, professional attorney, should know and utilize. So keep that in mind. It's called the Petition 388. Now, social workers will try to get you to do a PSA. Well, a PSA is professional service agreement. Don't sign it. It's very binding. It's very restrictive. So I'm trying to cover things that people have come up with. Even in a hospital, if your your wife is giving birth, no one should be in that room except doctors and personnel related to the mother. If a social worker wants to come, you tell them to wait outside. They have to have a court order to come in that birthing room. And that's horrible what social workers will really, really do. And if they ask you to do things or go to their doctors, no, you go to your doctor, your medical doctor, and you give them proof of whether you're on drugs or not on drugs, or whether you're uh, mentally ill or something like that. Same thing goes for the children. You have medical and educational rights to your children. They can't put your children in other schools. They're going to try to. They were saying to my son, "Well, we got a school for you. We'll provide you room and board, and you go to school, and we'll teach you banking 101 where you open your checkbook." Well, I got news for you. My son already had that in the 6th grade. He already knew about banking 101. Here he is in the 10th grade, STEM engineering, a STEM program where he's taking a science class, technology class, engineering class, a math class every semester at this high school. So private school is one of the best around in the country. And he was getting a fine education. What's CPS trying to do? They're trying to make sure that they keep your child to the 18 so they get the money part. And they're hoping that your child doesn't learn too much. But it's really sad. He's affecting my children today. My son, after 4.5 years of college, quit in his senior year because he couldn't take anymore. A lot, he said, may have dealt with the COVID being locked up, but I think a lot has to do with CPS. It was a horrible experience for your children. They're going there, they hear no information about the parents. They don't know if the parents have abandoned them, are there, or want to doing things to fix them. There's no encouragement by CPS. That's the most horrible thing. There's nothing but lack of distrust and breaking you down. It's a process of breaking you down as parents, hoping that you'll quit and give up, and hoping that your kids will be alienated from you and give up on you as mom and dad. And it's those precious times with your kids at holidays and events you guys go, family outings, stuff. They're so valuable. And I know all your parents love your kids, and maybe hiccups in life, but they all can be fixed. It's not the end of the world to have a hiccup. And it's really important that you do what's asked of you, but don't don't fight it. Just say yes and do it. And eventually you will get your kids. They'll eventually grow tired of the process, and you will get your kids. And you will get your kids if you have a professional attorney. You need an attorney that will fight for you and want to give your kids back to you. And so I strongly, You're going to have to be patient. It's the most horrible thing to be impatient, especially if you see them wrong. And after your case is over, they did evaluate your constitutional rights. You can sue them. You can sue CPS Win. A lot of attorneys won't take it on though, because they know that they have a lot of money and they can fight you. So if your case is really good, there's some attorneys who do pro bono, meaning that they will not charge anything up front, but they'll take 30% of what they get in their case. So um, it's it's well worth it. I mean, if you think about it, if you're awarded a couple $1,000,000 and they get 500,000, it's worth it because you got that other money there. So, um, I had to mortgage my home and use all my savings, what little left of them, because they were cut in half in 2007 by the banks falling. And my parents had given me some inheritance money, and so I used it all on hiring the attorney. And so I know it's hard. I know it takes a lot of money to fight them. Um, you know, Retainer fees are a lot of money that they put out there. They want the money up front because they want you to cover their expenses because they know it's very emotional, and so they do hire that. So sometimes you have to bite the bullet. You have to say how important your kids are and how important it is to get them back. Um, I love my kids, and every day I go to sleep missing my daughter that was taken from me, and it's really sad. It hurts really bad because we had a functional family. The only hiccup we had really was I had no job, and we had to live kind of conservative lifestyle. Everybody has to do the same thing. When the economy tanks, we have to cut back. We may not be able to go to the movies. We may not be able to do that. It's not the end of the world. And loving families will stand and help each other. And families, you know, one thing I know is that my youngest son showed me a lot. In his 4 years, he's in his fourth year at his private school, and he played varsity football. And the football brotherhood, really helped me, our family out a lot. I could not believe it. Um, they helped us with all kinds of stuff, and he has had a really great time there at his private school, and he's done quite well. I mean, he won the National Football High School Championships, and so he's done everything expected of him, and he is doing quite well. My other son, who moved back home with us, is struggling with emotions, and he'll come around. I know he'll come around, and he'll be good again. And it's sad though because and our daughter is like all kinds of problems she's experienced in her foster care, and it's sad because she's not doing well in life at all. And so we have our three children that were fully functional before CPS was involved, and now are not functional. You got a mother and father that are um, so distant now. One thing I will like to point out, that one thing we learned through all this is something called anger management. And what I mean by that is that parents have a tendency to yell and scream in anger over money or some issue there. And my wife and I were bad about doing that. We both sucked at discussing things. The only thing you should do is never discuss these things in front of children in an angry way. You should never discuss it in an angry way. And you should use a timeout. If either one of you feels like it's going to get out of hand, then take the bull by the horns and walk out. Take a walk. I live in an area where I live next to the beach, and I can go for a walk there and go out for a surf. There's ways you can unwind, unglue. So you need to do that. Then come back and talk about it. But again, talk about it away from your kids. I like to introduce, with my kids, to maybe sit down at the table and talk about things. We never did that. All families should sit there and talk about things in general. Now the dinner table is colluded with kids on their phones, playing their games, talking to their friends, and it's wrong. And we should be a little bit more concerned about what our kids are doing on the social networks. They're getting all kinds of problems, but that's a whole different topic. And I've run pretty much out of my time here on the show. I want to thank all you listeners there. I want to thank the comments by Queen A&W and Mildred Vega. It was nice that you guys wanted to give some input to the show. And I hope you all will continue to listen to me and hope your cases are going good. I don't know what your cases are, but I'm hoping they're really good. Thank you for the thumbs up, and I will see you all later tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, my time. And best of luck to you in your CPS matter. Also, this year, hope brings much success to you and much happiness. And so, God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.